When Akane stepped into the classroom, the silence hit her like a slap. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel, not yet. It was the kind of silence that said everything without words. 30 pairs of eyes locked onto her, cold, curious, judgmental. Some confused, others already smirking. She stood at the front, her dark skin framed by the soft navy of her school uniform, hands folded in front of her. She kept her posture straight. Her eyes low, but not afraid. "Class, this is Akane," the teacher announced, her voice a little too cheerful. "She just moved here from Japan, so be nice and help her feel welcome." A few snickers fluttered from the back. Akane's eyes flicked there, brief, sharp. "Go ahead and take the empty seat near the window." She walked through the aisle like walking through fog. Every step felt watched. Judged. But her face didn't change. Not when the boy with the football jacket whispered, "What is she, adopted?" Not when a girl pretended to sneeze, muttering, "Africa." Not even when the desk next to hers scraped suddenly, as someone dragged their chair a few inches further away. She was used to this. She had learned to be. But something was different here. Here, it wasn't just curiosity. It was rejection. Preloaded. Pre-decided. Like her existence offended them. That day, she went home and didn't say a word. Not to her mother. Not to her father. She only stared at the wall, eyes tracing the edge of a family photo, her father in a black suit, face half smiling, eyes knowing. A dragon tattoo coiled at the edge of his neck, just barely hidden by the collar. She touched the frame with one finger and whispered, "I'll handle it. For now." The bullying didn't start with fists. It started with absence, of kindness, of basic human decency. No one spoke to Akane. No one sat with her at lunch. Her name never appeared in group projects, unless a teacher forced someone to include her. And even then, they'd look past her like she wasn't there. On her third week, someone replaced the water in her bottle with vinegar. She drank it. Didn't flinch. Just wiped her lips and stared straight ahead. The next day, a nasty word was scratched into the front of her locker. They spelled it wrong. Akane ran her fingers over the letters. Then calmly opened the locker, took out her books, and walked to class. That calm scared them more than any tears would have. But they kept going. It escalated. One afternoon, after gym, she found her uniform soaked in toilet water. She changed into her sports shirt, buttoned it all the way up, and walked home in the cold. Still, she said nothing. But that night, she sat across from her father at dinner, and for the first time in weeks, she spoke first. "They're weak," she said, not looking up from her rice. Her father's chopsticks paused in midair. "They fear what they don't understand," he said slowly. "And when weak people fear, they try to control." She met his gaze. "And if they go too far?" He chewed once. Twice. Swallowed. "Then I remind them," he said softly, "that fear cuts both ways." Akane nodded. Said nothing more. But that night, she didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, fists clenched under the blanket. They didn't know who they were playing with. But they would. Friday. Rain tapped against the classroom windows like a warning. The air was thick with boredom, pencils scraping paper, sneakers scuffing tile. Akane sat still, her eyes locked on the math problems in front of her, pretending not to notice the girl 2 rows over, whispering again. "Sarah. The ringleader. Blonde hair, flawless skin, venom behind a perfect smile. She probably doesn't even have a birth certificate," Sarah said, loud enough for her group to giggle. Akane's grip tightened on her pencil. But she didn't raise her head. She couldn't give them that satisfaction. After class, as she walked the hallway, a shoulder slammed into her from behind, hard. Her books spilled across the floor. Laughter. "Oh, sorry," said Jason, tall and smug. Quarterback. Privileged. Empty inside. Akane knelt to pick up her books without a word. Jason looked down at her, lips curling. "You gonna bark or beg, mutt?" Something cracked. Not outside. Inside. But she didn't speak. She just stood, books in hand, and walked away. That weekend, they went too far. Akane had left her sketchbook in her locker, full of private drawings. Her art. Her only escape. She came back on Monday and found it on the hallway wall. Pages ripped out. Taped up. Scribbled over in red marker. Slurs. Ugly faces. A drawing of her father, as a gorilla. For a moment, time stopped. The hallway felt distant. Blurry. Voices faded. Then it snapped back. Laughter. Phone cameras. A crowd forming. Sarah stood near the wall, arms crossed. Smiling. Watching. Akane walked up, tore down the pages one by one, slowly, calmly. Then she turned to Sarah. And she smiled. But it wasn't a smile of surrender. It was the kind of smile that says, "You've just made a mistake." That evening, she waited until her father poured himself tea. "They put your face on a wall," she said simply. The porcelain cup in his hand froze. He didn't blink. Didn't ask. He reached into the drawer beside the stove. Took out an old phone. Black. Burnt at the edges. Not touched in years. He looked at her. "You're sure?" She nodded. He dialed. One number. No words. Just a pause. Then he said, "The debt has returned." And hung up. Tuesday. Stillness before impact. The school was unusually quiet that morning. The kind of quiet before a fire alarm. Before a scream. Akane walked through the front doors like always, calm, invisible, untouchable. But something was different today. She wasn't alone. Behind her, parked near the curb, was a sleek black car. Windows tinted. Engine humming low, like it was breathing. No one noticed, not yet. By second period, Sarah was missing. People noticed that. By lunch, Jason didn't show either. And his friends said he hadn't answered texts since last night. Whispers spread. Something was wrong. Phones buzzed. Eyes darted. In the hallway, Akane passed by a group of boys. One of them looked up, and actually stepped aside. She didn't say a word. But the message had already started bleeding through the walls. "Do not touch her." At 3:17 p.m., a teacher entered the principal's office and whispered something that made the blood drain from his face. By 4 o'clock, a black envelope arrived at the school. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of rice paper, soaked faintly with ink. Written in perfect calligraphy. "When shame is allowed to grow, it spreads. But when it is cut, it does not return. Ryu." No signature. Just a faint watermark, a dragon coiled around a sword. The principal locked his door that night. Meanwhile, in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town, Jason sat tied to a chair, breathing hard. His lip was bleeding. His confidence was gone. A man in a pressed black suit stood in front of him. Calm. Quiet. A cigarette burning between his fingers, untouched. "You drew a monkey," the man said softly, his Japanese accent thick but controlled. Jason whimpered, I didn't mean anything." The man tilted his head. Took one slow drag of his cigarette. Exhaled. "Intent is not what defines a man," he said. Action does. Then he leaned in, so close Jason could smell the tobacco and something older, something metallic. You touched the daughter of the dragon, he whispered. You should not have done that. The lights flickered. Jason screamed. By Wednesday, the energy in the school had changed completely. No one looked at Akane the same. The ones who used to mock her couldn't meet her eyes. The boldest bullies had suddenly turned mute. Even Sarah, Queen of Venom, hadn't returned. Her Instagram went dark. Her friends claimed she was sick. No one believed them. Jason was back, but he wasn't Jason anymore. He walked with a limp. Sunglasses indoors. And silence in his throat. When asked what happened, he just said, I fell. Then he left the table shaking. Akane didn't gloat. Didn't smirk. She just existed, fully now, like gravity had shifted in her favor. People noticed. And that made them nervous. In the faculty lounge, teachers whispered behind closed doors. We need to report this. To whom? And say what? That the Yakuza's watching us? You're paranoid. Am I? They didn't know what to do. So, like most people in fear, they did nothing. That night, Akane stood on the rooftop of her apartment building. The city lights flickered beneath her. Wind tugged gently at her sleeves. Her father appeared behind her, his presence quiet but grounding. He didn't ask what she was thinking. He didn't need to. After a long silence, Akane spoke. I didn't ask for revenge. No, he said. But justice was owed. She turned to face him. You sent them a message. He met her gaze, steady. I sent them a choice, he said. Hurt you again, or stay silent forever. Akane looked out over the rooftops. Do they ever learn? She asked. The man smiled faintly. They always learn. The question is whether they live long enough to use what they've learned. Back at school. A new rumor spread. Someone swore they saw a tattooed man in a suit standing across the street during lunch break. Just, watching. The school tightened its rules overnight. No loitering. No phones in class. Security cameras mysteriously got upgraded. But none of that mattered. Because in the eyes of everyone, teachers, students, parents, Akane was untouchable now. And that scared them more than anything. For the first time since she arrived, Akane wasn't invisible. Now, people moved around her, careful, hesitant, polite. Some tried to make small talk. Others just nodded from afar, like she was a queen walking through her court. But Akane saw the truth in their eyes. It wasn't respect. It was fear. And fear was lonely. At lunch, she sat alone as usual. Only this time, the other tables left space between her and them, like an invisible wall. No one mocked her. But no one joined her either. Even the teachers had changed. They spoke to her differently now, watching their words, weighing their tone. One of them handed back her essay with trembling hands. Excellent work, he said, eyes not meeting hers. She didn't say anything. Just nodded and walked away. But that afternoon, something unexpected happened. A girl approached her in the library. Not one of the popular kids. Not a fake smiler. Just, normal. Brown hair. Nervous hands. A notebook clutched to her chest. Hey. Akane, she said softly. Akane looked up, quiet. The girl hesitated. I saw what they did to your drawings. That wasn't right. I wanted to say that. I'm sorry. Akane blinked. Her voice was flat. Why now? The girl swallowed. Because I was scared before. But now. I think they're more scared of you than you ever were of them. Akane stared at her. Then, slowly, her expression softened, just a little. The girl sat down. Carefully. Awkwardly. Like she might be struck by lightning. They talked. Just a little. About books. About nothing. And for a few minutes, Akane felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Human. That night, she brought it up with her father. I think I scared them too much. He looked at her from across the room, folding his hands. Fear brings peace, he said. Peace built on silence, she replied. He studied her, that stillness in his eyes returning. You're starting to sound like your mother. Akane looked away. She believed people could change, he added. She died for that, Akane whispered. The air went still. Her father rose, walked over, and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. And I've made sure no one will ever touch you like that again. Akane didn't answer. But later, lying in bed, she stared at the ceiling and asked herself the question she hadn't dared until now. Am I becoming like him? And worse. Do I want to? It happened on a Thursday. The girl from the library, Maya, had started sitting with Akane more often. Just quiet conversations. Nothing dramatic. But it was real. Honest. Akane found herself smiling again. Not often. But enough to remember what it felt like. For a moment, it seemed like the world was shifting, like maybe things could get better. Until someone tried to make an example of Maya. It happened after school. Near the bike racks. 3 boys cornered her. One of them, a tall, bitter guy named Trent, used to hang with Jason. A leftover from the old order, desperate to prove he wasn't afraid. You think she likes you? Trent sneered, grabbing Maya's backpack. Think you're part of her gang now? I didn't do anything. Exactly, he snapped. None of you freaks belong here. He shoved her against the fence. She hit the ground. Someone filmed it. Of course. But no one helped. By morning, the video had already gone around. Akane didn't need to watch it. She could hear the panic in the hallway. The new fear. Not of Trent. Of what would happen now. Akane sat in her desk. Silent. Still. Maya didn't come to school. At lunch, someone tried to whisper something to her. She didn't respond. She didn't eat. She didn't blink. She only stood up, walked to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and made a call. 3 rings. A man's voice answered. Yes. She spoke calmly. One of them touched something that wasn't his. A pause. Name. Trent Collins. Another pause. Longer. Then. Consider it handled. She hung up. Her hand trembled for half a second, then steadied. That night, Trent never made it home. His car was found abandoned 2 towns over. He wasn't inside. Just the steering wheel, with a red string tied around it. By morning, the video was gone from every phone. Every post. Every account that shared it. Deleted. Even Maya didn't know who had done it. She just came back to school the next day, and hugged Akane in the hallway without saying a word. And Akane? She hugged back. But something inside her was colder now. Still. Unmoving. That evening, her father poured 2 cups of tea. You did well, he said. I didn't do it for revenge, Akane replied. He smiled faintly. Neither did I. I did it for protection. Akane looked down at her tea. But if they keep crossing lines, what's left to protect? He didn't answer. Because they both already knew. Graduation came early that year. Not officially, the school still ran until June. But the real change had already happened. The social order had been dismantled. The predators had become prey. And at the center of it all stood Akane, silent, poised, untouchable. She hadn't raised a hand. Not once. But her name now echoed like a legend. A whisper of fire behind it. A rumor with teeth. Sarah never came back. Jason transferred. Trent. Still missing. Some believed he ran away. Others weren't so sure. But no one asked out loud. Maya became her only real friend. She never questioned where the protection came from. Never judged Akane's silence or the shadows that seemed to follow her. Sometimes they sat on the rooftop, Maya talking about books and college and dreams, while Akane stared into the distance like she was watching something no one else could see. And one day, Maya finally asked the question that had been hanging between them. Do you ever wish things happened differently? Akane was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I wish I never had to choose. That night, she found her father in his study, the room no one else entered. He was sitting in the dark, a katana resting across his lap like it belonged there. Not a weapon. A symbol. Of everything he was. And everything she was becoming. I'm leaving after graduation, she said. He looked up. Just once. Where? Far. Somewhere without enemies. He nodded once, slow and deliberate. You carry the dragon's blood, he said. You'll never truly escape it. Akane stepped forward. Took the sword in both hands. Bowed. Then I'll learn to tame it. He smiled. Not proud. Not sad. Just, accepting. You already have. On the last day of school, she walked out the front doors with nothing but a backpack and silence behind her. No more stairs. No more whispers. The building didn't feel like a prison anymore. It felt like a graveyard. One she had buried with her own two hands, memory by memory. A week later, in a private office in Tokyo. A letter arrived. Handwritten. Sealed with red wax. Inside. Asterisk to those who believe fear is strength. I didn't destroy you because I could. I spared you because I chose to. Remember that, asterisk. Akane Ryo.